have two different screens, so you'd put me on the TV, and you'd use that as your second window. But it's difficult. I've tried it before. Yeah, teething problems.
Well, I've started the stream. Does our sound still come through?
Our sound is still coming through.
Oh dear. So how do we... So will that come through on the stream?
It does.
Oh dear.
Hi, stream.
Hi, stream. I might as well just play it.
Yeah. I just unmuted it, so yes, we can still hear us.
So yeah, hi guys. Welcome to Gaffr Tapes Championship Fantasy videos, where we talk about Championship Fantasy, and today we're going into game week. Well, tomorrow we go into game week 2, so we're going to do a bit of a preview Q&A. And I'm here today with Liam, who is a Birmingham fan, who we play tomorrow. I am Stoke Gaffer Kyle. So welcome to the Q&A live stream, and hello to Liam.
Hello.
So we'll get predictions out the way early, shall we? So what do you think about how the game's going to go tomorrow?
With Blues and Stoke, it's always a decent game between the two of us. I think with both of us starting quite well to the season, it could be a decent game. I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory to Blues, though.
2-1 sounds reasonable. I'm gonna say, well, I did think you'd score, to be honest. So I was a bit like apprehensive going into the game, because I thought with all your fans in the ground, that's going to have an impact. And you beat us 2-0 in May towards the end of last season under Bowyer, at your place. And Djukovic caused us all sorts of problems that day. So
He is normally quite good.
your mic's just gone off a bit. Can you repeat that?
He is normally quite good against Stoke.
We'll have to see. I don't know why that is. I honestly can't tell you, because like we're good at defending crosses. We've got like big, powerful centre backs, so he should not be heading it in the box. Like shouldn't be getting. Yeah, he shouldn't be marked and be able to outjump us. But that's Djukovic. That's what he does. He's very good at it.
He is talented at it.
So yeah, we're just waiting for questions in the chat. So if you've got any queries about your team, we'll answer them later on in the stream. But yeah, going into game week 2, and yeah, how was your game week 1? So I'll introduce you as someone who puts 3 Blues players in his Gaffer team, no matter what the game week is.
That bit helps. What I'm about to say.
And that explains why Liam finished 270th last season and not first.
I mean, you never know. Without the 3 Blues players, it could have been first. I could have been challenging.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, if Jamie says this a lot, like, imagine how good you'd be if you didn't have 3 Birmingham players in your Gaffer team.
Oh, he has faith in me too, then.
But you look better this season under Bowyer.
We definitely look better under Bowyer. It's a different atmosphere under Bowyer than it was under Karanka. It just felt like a not very homely place under Karanka, and no one was happy. And it was negative football. It wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I agree. I think under Karanka it just became a bit boring and stagnant, a bit like you wouldn't go
Same
forward.
old, same old.
And over a 46 game season, that can bore the players playing the same defensive style week in, week out. You know, five at the back. It was a back five last season for Birmingham.
It was.
Was
It was a bad back five though.
and a very bad back five that conceded, you know, more goals,
Conceded way too many
way
goals.
too many goals.
He
Even
came in as the man who doesn't concede goals and went out as the man who concedes a lot of goals.
I think you conceded, was it the most goals of all current championship
Yeah.
clubs? Something like that. I'm not too sure on the exact number, but yeah, it was defensively good.
Too many.
And Karanka as well, like he prides himself on good defensive numbers.
We conceded 61 goals.
61 goals, yeah. So
Which the only teams that conceded more than us were Wickham with 69, Huddersfield with 71, and Bristol City with 68.
doesn't make for good reading. And
It certainly doesn't.
well, it's weird because Lee Bowyer has never had like a good defensive record as a manager. Just thinking back to Charlton, even in League One last season, they conceded hatfuls of goals.
Yes, they did. They conceded a lot last season, and he came in and he seems to have changed the whole atmosphere and the way that we play defensively. And I don't know what he's done, but he needs to continue doing it.
Well, there's always two sides of football. There's defending and there's attacking, and obviously going forward, you look a lot better. You know, you're getting the wingers forward. You're getting crosses into Djukovic a lot more, which is what you should be doing. Playing to Duke's strengths is
Definitely.
But,
under Karanka hardly played Duke, and he didn't seem to rate him very much. Although it was the exact thing that we needed, and as soon as he came in, everything changed.
Yeah, it's positive steps for Birmingham, but unfortunately they play Stoke tomorrow, who've won the first game of the season, like you, and as also, there's a lot of similarities between us two. Well, last season we were too defensive, but we actually kept clean sheets. That was the difference. We kept the second most clean sheets in the entire championship. So that was good, but then we didn't score many at the other end. So we drew a lot of games, too many games, 0-0, and we'll be hoping to put that right this season. But
Yeah, if you can turn 3 or 4 of those 0-0s into 1-0s, playoffs are looking.
Yeah, we'll be in the top half. We finished 14th last season. It's a lot to improve on for us. We see ourselves as at least a top half club in the championship. So, yeah,
we see ourselves as a relegation battle club. It's no fun if it's all over before the final game.
Yeah, that tends to be the case with Birmingham, isn't it? Like just staying up.
Staying up on the final game of the season, or with 2 or 3 games to go. It's how we do it. Last season it was 3 games to go. The last 2 we played kids and were boring. It was no fun.
When was the last time you weren't in a relegation scrap?
Going
into the
Chris Hughton, we were in the playoffs in 2012 or 2013.
That's crazy, isn't it? Think about
that. We were also in Europe in the one season and did incredible in the 2012 season. So we did really well. We were one of the only clubs to ever get relegated in the same season as winning the cup. It said all we needed to know when we did that, and since then everything's just gone downhill from owners to, well, the ground now to half the ground is closed for the foreseeable future at the current moment.
We've
So
had a good owner. We've had a similar kind of, well, suppose we've been downhill since being in the heights of like the top half of the Premier League now. But yeah, that was the past. We've had three managers in 3 seasons in the Championship.
I
Um,
mean, we'd feel like that's a good record. I think we've had 8 in our last 6.
we've we've got a good manager who puts a lot of faith in managers, and he's had to sack, our last three managers, and including Lambert in the Premier League. He had no choice but to let all of those go. But in Michael O'Neill, it's a step in the right direction for us. Um, and yeah, we just need to attack a bit more. And yeah,
Score a few more goals and the
score a
playoffs will
few
be
more
there.
goals. But yeah, with this current system that we've got, we seem to have settled on 3-5-2, and we're playing midfield three of Joe Allen, Mario Vrancic, and Nick Powell. Which,
That's quite similar to us.
in the Championship, that's a very good midfield. It's also
It's a
quite
quality midfield.
it's also quite balanced as well. You've got Joe Allen as more of the defensive number six. You've got Mario Vrancic as a number eight who can get box to box, and you've got Nick Powell as a number 10, probably one of the best number 10s in the Championship. So yeah, there's a lot to be optimistic about. Um, Early doors though, but yeah, we'll see how we both get on. But yeah, onto our Gaffer teams. And have you got access to your Gaffer team?
I do. I do have access to my team.
Do you want to read out your players going into game week 2?
Yes. First, I will say that I have used my first chip. I used the away days chip, as in my first game week, I scored 43 points, and it was quite a positive game week with 43 points because I didn't think I was going to do that well. With the three Blues players of, I have to have three Blues players in my team. It's a thing that me and my friends do. And it's a challenge to put three Blues players in there. Ramsdale. Um, I think he's a decent keeper. He played all right against Blues. He made one mistake and lost the game for me. At the back, we've got Colin, McCallum, and Egan. So we've got three at the back, with McCallum and Egan both playing away from home against Hull and Swansea. I feel like QPR are going to have a good season. So I feel I've got three QPR players in Willock and Dykes also in my team. I quite highly rate that QPR team and think they're going to do better than they have previously. In midfield, I have Sanchez, Robinson from West Bromwich Albion, Willock, and Brooks. Two have away games, two have home games. You have Robinson against Luton. I think he could get goals and assists in that game. He could do a lot of damage. And up front, I've got Jutkovic, Martin from Bristol City, and Dykes.
Nice, good team. I'm sure you'll improve on 43 points from last week.
We can only hope.
So your Birmingham players then are
Maxime Colin,
Colin in
Ivan Sanchez,
Sanchez in midfield,
and Jutkovic.
Djokovic.
I've looked at Sanchez because Chong's 50-50 for this game week, and I think if he's out, then Sanchez will come in.
Fair dues, fair dues. So yeah, it's a good team. So I'll move on to mine. So I've got Nick Powell. Don't know if you have any Stoke. Did you have any Stoke players?
I didn't have any Stoke players. This
Well,
this game week, I didn't go for the 3-3 thing.
we'll we'll see how it plays out. So I've got Nick Powell against your three Birmingham players, so that'll be interesting. The rest of my team, I've got Joe Lumley. I will mention I'm playing part of the Buzz, so it's a 5-4-1. Joe Lumley in goal for Borough at home to Bristol City. I have Tete away at Huddersfield, should be a clean sheet there. Flint and NG away at Blackpool, another likely clean sheet, you'd think. Yiadom at home to Preston. kind of 50-50 on that one being a clean sheet, and Townsend at home to Luton, which I'm slightly more wary about Luton after they um, after they beat Peterborough 3-0 on the opening day. But yeah,
Mhm.
hopefully, um, at least 3 or 4 clean sheets there for me. So, and that'll do nicely on my part of the buzz. In midfield, Harry Wilson away at COVID-stricken Huddersfield side, having already scored in game week 1. That's a good fixture for him. But I won't have the captaincy to put on Harry Wilson. I also have Chris Willock, who I was debating whether to move on to John Swift, but I thought away at Hull is a good fixture for him. QPR are very attacking, and Hull can be quite open at times, so there might be a goal there for him.
Mhm.
Nick Powell away at Birmingham, he's going to score a goal there. Easy fixture. I genuinely don't know how it's gonna go, but um,
One of us is going to get big points.
one of us is, unless Nick Powell blanks and Stoke win, but yeah, we'll see. Um, I didn't actually say my prediction, did I? So
You didn't.
I was sitting on the fence and trying to give a good reasoning without actually making a prediction, but I think Stoke will win 2-1.
Two ones then.
2-1, yeah. I just think the way we've been playing in pre-season and against Reading in game week 1, we got the ball forward much more. Our midfield, was won the midfield battle. We outnumbered Reading in midfield, and yeah, I think you'll score. I do think you'll score in front of your home fans, although you've had to close 2 stands
I
due to
think that
referrals.
being at home will actually have an impact on Blues. I think it will have a negative impact on Blues because the fans are planning protests against the board, and they're trying to plan different things inside and outside the ground currently. And I think it's possibly could have a negative impact on the players. So it could end up coming out quite well for Stoke, even though Stoke haven't been able to sell out the away end. It could feel like a hostile atmosphere, which could help Stoke.
Hopefully, yeah, but
Mm.
we hope like no protests go on and the game's not interrupted. But yeah, it's yeah not a good thing, is it? It's a negative atmosphere surrounding the owners at your club. But yeah, we'll see how that pans out. So 2 of your stands are shut as well. That might have an impact on our Gaffer teams. Um, Weirdly enough.
Mhm.
So you're having repairals on 2 of your stands. I read earlier, and
Yes, it has been going on since December 2020. Um, so it was supposed to be back for the Stoke game, but it's been put back another 2 games and possibly another 2 after that. So season ticket holders haven't been able to go to both of the next 2 games. So I think there's 3,000 season ticket holders who are going to miss out on one of the next 2 games.
that's a shame. Yeah, that's a shame. But you've managed to get your ticket for tomorrow.
I- I've luckily been drawn out at the ballot for the Stoke game, so I'll be at the Stoke game, and hopefully within the last thousands of tickets for the Bournemouth game, I'll get drawn.
Yeah, good
It's
luck.
it's it's a difficult one to feel.
Good luck. Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? It's very awkward. Remember when Fulham had their like renovation and shut a whole stand, and yeah, that didn't really have an impact on them because they still won promotion, but I think they only finished 4th.
So hopefully that has the same impact on Blues then.
So yeah, not having a stand equals promotion. Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense. You'd like to think so, but to complete my midfield then, so I have Sammy Smodics at home to Derby. Um, Derby at home is going to be one of the best fixtures to back this season. You'd think, with all the unrest surrounding their whole club. Um, the
Hmm.
the lack of first team players that they have. They have an aging team as well, so attacking Derby this season won't be the worst thing to do. And yeah, I picked Sammy Smodics with game week 2 in mind. So yeah, um, my Smodics pick, it basically hinges on this game week, whether it was a good pick or not. Because 5.5 for a Huddersfield midfielder is quite a big investment in terms of the wider game and value. But we'll see
And
how
with a
he
few
goes.
Huddersfield players out as well.
And Huddersfield are the other team that you, at the moment at least, you can target because yeah, Huddersfield have a big COVID outbreak. We'll go over the team news and injury updates and any suspensions later on in the stream. But yeah, our understanding is that Huddersfield had a COVID outbreak uh, the week before the season, so there might be a few more players still isolating from that, and they might struggle against Fulham this weekend as a result of not having their first choice team available. Um, which leads me on to Mitrovic, who could have a field day against Huddersfield. And
Mhm.
yeah, I'm a bit nervous about not being able to captain him because he would have been my standout captain pick for this game week. But playing part of the buzz, I think I will gain points from not playing part of the buzz, but it might not be as big as say if if I could if well say Huddersfield had the first choice 11 available, it wouldn't be such a good fixture for Mitrovic. But with their
Yeah.
COVID outbreak, it's unfortunate, and it's the way that things are in fantasy football at the moment, that you have to kind of target teams with COVID outbreaks. This season, it looks like games are just going to go ahead, even with the COVID pings. So it's just one of those things to bear in mind. So yeah, Mitrovic up front completes my lineup, and yeah, we'll see. I got 54 points in game week 1, with a game week rank of 848, and yeah, I'm hoping to get into the top 200 this game week, but only because I'm playing part of the buzz, so it does give me a big boost using one of the boosts. So yeah, if you've got any questions for us, doesn't seem to be anyone in the chat. So yeah, I'll go through the injury news and suspensions. So a few are the same from before game week 1, um, but there are some new injury updates which I will get onto. So Mads Anderson of Barnsley is still out with a knee injury, estimated out until next month. Birmingham have Neil Etheridge out with COVID still. Believe he suffered a bad bout of COVID-19 and was hospitalised, so it might take a couple more weeks for him to gain full match fitness.
He's just coming back.
So he's just coming back, having not had a pre-season. So yeah, it might take him a couple of weeks maybe to gain match fitness. But he'll be your first choice keeper, am I right in saying?
Yes, he'll definitely be first choice once he's back. But that means probably Sarkic will be the number one goalkeeper for the next 2 or 3 matches at least.
So also from Birmingham, Dion Sanderson, a defender, is lacking match fitness. Tahi Chong has a muscle injury, unfortunately, and I'm glad we don't have to face him because he looks very sharp against Sheffield United, on loan from Man U. He looks to be a very good signing, but won't be available for the weekend. So Blackburn, Bradley Dack is out along with Scott Wharton, Joe Rankin Costello, and Bradley Johnson. So that's the same as last game week. Blackpool, Dimitri Mitchell has a knee injury. Kevin Stewart is still out. Daniel Gratarsson is lacking match fitness after injury. Kenny Dougal as well, also lacking match fitness. Gary Medine has a groin injury. And a new one is Matty Virtue Thick has an ACL injury. Is a midfielder for Blackpool. Bristol City, Antoine Semenyo is recovering from knee surgery. Robbie Cundy, the same injury. Callum O'Dowda has a shin injury. Joe Williams has an injury. Lewis Cook has a torn ACL from Bournemouth. Jefferson Lerma and Ben Pearson, also defensive mids. Probably not Gaffr assets, but they're all unavailable. Ben Pearson has an illness, so he could feature. Jack Stacey still out. Junior Stanislas, one of the most injury-prone players I've ever come across. He was the same in FPL when Bournemouth were in the Premier League. Always struggling with some sort of muscle injury. He has a hamstring injury at the moment. Arno Danjuma's lacking match fitness, wasn't involved in pre-season, so that might be the reason for that. So if he has come back to training now with Bournemouth and could become an asset in Gaffr if he stays past the transfer window, but that's one to keep an eye on. Steve Cook is also lacking match fitness from Bournemouth. Coventry City, Kiefer Moore gained some fitness in midweek. He started in the Carabao Cup, so he could start, but that remains to be seen. He could maybe feature from the bench again, like he did in game week 1. Ruben Colwill also he also started in the Carabao Cup along with Kiefer Moore, midfielder at Cardiff, who got COVID in their outbreak. Sean Morrison, it still says, is suffering with a dislocated elbow, but he played in the Carabao Cup, so I would imagine he starts. Perry and G was on the bench for the Carabao Cup, so that tells me he's also available. I will mention that Angus MacPhail of the EFL Fantasy podcast went through all the teams and did a lot of research and used correspondence info to put this together, so cheers to Angus for this. On to Coventry, Liam Kelly is injured, Matty Godden still injured, Josh Eccles injured. I think a new one is Josh Pask with a gash knee, and Bright Anobacare is lacking match fitness. Derby County, no changes there. Fulham, Bobby Reid and Michael Hector have recently come back from the Gold Cup, so it's 50-50 whether they'll start. They didn't play a Carabao Cup game in midweek, so will still be lacking match fitness, or maybe rested, having played in the Gold Cup in pre-season. Tom Kearney has a knee injury. Harrison Reed has an injury. Terence Congolo, knee injury. Anthony Knockhart has a back injury. I think that's a new one. He'll be out until possibly the end of this month. Huddersfield, and there are a number of absentees for Huddersfield. We've already mentioned them to be a team to target this week, playing Fulham. Fulham usually are a team to back anyway, but even more so this game week, with Huddersfield having a number of players out. So 1, 2, 3. Huddersfield have 14 unavailable players from their squad, and most of them are first team players. So I'll just run through the list. Rolando Aarons, Aaron Rowe, Danny Grant, Juninho Bacuna, Isaac Mbenza, Fraser Campbell, Danel Sinani, Pippa, Harry Toffolo, Lewis O'Brien, Josh Ruffles, Lee Nichols, Josh Karoma, and Tom Lees are all missing for Huddersfield. Hull City, George Honeyman has an ankle injury. Randall Williams, COVID. Sean McLaughlin, COVID. Thomas Mayer and Callum Elder also out with COVID. So Hull are also a team that struggled and looks like had an outbreak of COVID. So Luton and Luke Berry and Dan Potts are still out for them. Apart from that, they have a full fit squad. Middlesbrough have Mark Bowler started last week, so maybe that hasn't updated. But Hayden Coulson, Darnell Fisher, Marcus Brown, and Sammy Amiobi are all out for Middlesbrough. Millwall and Mason Bennett is out with an ankle injury. Jake Cooper, I think, missed out in game week 1. I might be right in saying. I'm not too sure about that.
He did, yes.
Yes. So Nottingham Forest and Tyler Blackett has had groin surgery. Gaetan Bong is suspended, and that's a new update. He was suspended for violent conduct against Coventry last week. Peterborough and Sariki Dembele is out, and Jack Taylor suffered a knock. Preston North End, Patrick Bauer still recovering from Achilles. So Izzy Brown has torn his Achilles as well, and Matthew Wallace Sunday. So 3 Achilles injuries. Daniel Johnson is another one that returned from the Gold Cup, but might have played in the Carabao Cup. So yeah, he might be someone that's ready to go, ready for tomorrow. So yeah, I'll rattle through the rest of these. QPR still have Samfield and Luke Amos out. No changes at Reading. Sheffield United still have Jack O'Connell missing with knee surgery. Ender Stevens has a knock, and Lys Mousset. The update on him is that he'll be out for between 4 to 6 weeks. Sorry. He suffered a hamstring injury playing the Blues. And he's a popular pick, so you might want to have a replacement in mind, either for this game week or game week 3. On to Stoke, my team, the Mighty Potters. Tyrese Campbell has a knee injury, and Harry Souttar could miss out again, having returned from the Olympics, but he started and played the full game on Tuesday. So he is fit and available to play. It's just whether he is selected. He only had a week off, or maybe 2 weeks off in pre-season, so it's a 50-50 whether Souttar starts. Bath played well in game week 1, so it'd be harsh to drop Danny Bart or Ben Wilmot in place of Souttar. So maybe Souttar sits out again, but he is in our first choice 11, so I would expect to see him back for game week 3 possibly, or after the international break. Swansea and Connor Roberts, everyone knows, is out long term. Jay Fulton is back in game week. I think Jay Fulton is back this weekend. It says the 17th of August, having been suspended in the playoff final. and Corey Smith and Liam Walsh are out with injuries. West Brom only have one absentee that we know of so far, who is Robert Snodgrass, who is lacking match fitness. So that rounds up the Gaffr injury updates ahead of game week 2. So hopefully that was useful, and thanks again to Angus for compiling all of that information. So I've noticed we have a few people in the chat now. Yeah, sorry about all of that waffle, but yeah, we can start to answer questions now. So yeah, I will hand back over to Liam now. So I've done a lot of talking. So yeah, sorry about that, but hopefully you've been updated on injuries.
That hopefully after all the going on about all those injuries. So, is there any questions? Let's see if I can find any questions. Chat being quiet's normally a nice place to be.
I know,
But
but
okay, let's go with debating my
we'll
choice
see.
of Willock.
Right, so yeah, Chris Willock.
What would you say about Willock?
We both own Chris Willock, and
Yes.
so yeah, we're agreed on him being a good pick.
And the fact that they're playing against Hull, like I can see Hull being one of the teams that struggle quite a bit this season. They're going to come lower down in my league table. I did a whole prediction video on my channel. This was, but it was
of those
difficult.
people that puts together a pre-season prediction based on
There is a pre-season prediction based off
who you think will
nothing.
finish in the end of the season after 46
Well, I've got my
games.
whole list there. My whole list there. For simple terms here, Stoke are 15th and Blues are 12th.
Wow. Okay. I think you might be in the minority there.
So yeah, I'm just waiting the 10 seconds to see the reaction to my prediction now on the screen. Yeah, I can tell I've just said it.
So you
See, I've got
Sheffield
United and West Brom will go up.
Yeah, I struggle to disagree with that. So yeah, I mean Sheffield United, I think will finish in the playoffs.
I'd be surprised if they don't go up in either of the automatics.
I think it's between Bournemouth and Sheffield United in the playoffs. But I have Fulham and West Brom to go up automatically.
I have Fulham as my playoff winners. So we have all three exactly the same.
Seem very obvious to me.
Yeah.
Going
down, I've got Coventry, Peterborough, and Derby.
I've seen a few, league table predictions, and everyone seems to have the top four in different orders.
They seem very similar.
With Derby bottom as well is one that's
of everyone.
Yeah, everyone sort of concurs.
Everyone's agreeing on they have no chance of staying up based off their position.
Yeah, it's hard to argue a case for them staying up in Derby. So you have Coventry going down, who shared your stadium last season.
I do have Coventry going down in 22nd place. I think they're going to be a late relegation. I think they'll be within the last 3 games of the season.
But Coventry finished. Did Coventry finish above you last season?
I think they just finished above us last season.
That's
if I remember wrong.
Yeah, that's a controversial one. I think. To me, I think you'll both be mid-table. I can't see Coventry going down.
Coventry was 16th last season.
they'll be more stable this season. With they've have some decent signings. We've just signed Ostergaard, who was at Coventry last season, which weakens them slightly. But yeah, they seem to have enough strength in depth. I can't remember. I think they grew into last season. I think they got off to like
They had a bad
yeah,
start.
they had a bad start and then got better and better as the season went on. I remember
They did very similar to us.
they beat Millwall 3-0. I seem to recall on the last game of the season or the second to last game of the season.
Last game of the season,
Yeah,
trying to see. They won 6-1 against Millwall.
6-1 against Millwall. Wow. Yeah, so they finished the season in good form.
And the one goal for
Starting
Millwall
it
was an own
strong.
goal. So all 7 goals were scored by Coventry players.
Coventry have some really good value in Gaffr, I think.
They do have some good value, some good cheap players. I mean, both of their goalkeepers at 4.0 are definitely something to look out for, whether it's backup or first choice. O'Hare, he's on my bench in my midfield. At 5, I think is a bargain.
Yeah,
I feel he's going to get points this season. The same with Sheaf, actually. Sheaf, he got 9 points in the first game week at 4.5 million. He's 4.6 now. So I feel he's going to have a good season as well.
Gustavo Hamer's on all their set pieces. Was really good last season. They have Victor Gokares, who was at Swansea in the first half of last season. Didn't get much game time, but looks to be a good young striker. Martin Wycorn, can score goals at this level. He's pretty proven.
Yes, he is. He's a good choice, but I think he's the kind of player that could get injured quite a bit. He's a bit injury prone every so often.
Good depth,
they have good
Matthew
depth.
Godden is injured at the moment, but when he comes back, he'll be scoring goals. It's not out of the question for him to score 10 to 15 goals. Tyler Walker's the same.
See, a few seasons ago, we were in for Bakare, one of their bigger players and more popular players. And our fans really didn't want him. And if I remember rightly, he signed, then he didn't sign, then he signed, then he didn't sign for the club. So he's quite low on the order of Blues fans' priority lists. But I thought he was a decent player. I think he could have a decent season if he can stay away from that injury table.
And I've just seen that Martin Wycorn's only 31. I for some reason I thought he was older.
I'd have put him at 34.
He's been in the Championship for a very long time, I think 10 to 12 years. But scored quite prolifically. I think he got 20 goals one season with Ipswich. So yeah, he can do it at this level. Still able to score goals for Coventry for sure. But yeah.
What's your prediction for QPR as well?
So I think they'll be just outside the playoffs, but I can see.
I have them 7th.
I can see why people have tipped them to finish in top 6. The way they played in the second half of last season.
Well, they've got some quality defenders in like Dickey and DeVoy. In midfield, you've got the likes of Willock, Chair, and others. Austin up front is obviously one to look out for, and Dykes. You've got goals in that team, and you have a decent defence in that team too.
Yeah. I think they need to improve the defence. I still think they need to prove themselves defensively, but we know they can score goals at the other end. With Chair and Willock now and Austin and Dykes, there's enough creativity and goals in that team to be up there. It's just whether they can stop goals going in at the other end.
I mean, they were 9th last season with a +2 goal difference, 57 scores. Now, if they'd have added these players last season, I would have put them in the playoffs.
I think they slightly overperformed, let's say.
Mm.
in the second half and slightly underperformed in the first half. So that kind of
They grew into the
balances.
season as it went on.
I think it balanced out over the season because they I remember them being 18th the halfway stage, and then they finished ninth. So yeah, kind of they went from underperformance to overperformance. But we'll see how they get on. But in terms of Gaffer, they have again they're another team with quite a few assets to choose from. I could quite easily have three QPR players as well as three Coventry players. Two of the
Yeah,
teams we've just spoken about.
those two teams, I wouldn't have first just off the top of my head thought about them until I looked at their squads and saw their depth. And the depth of the QPR squad is ridiculous. Other than their forward line has three players, so all it takes is Austin to have a bit of an off time,
And
Dykes
they've got
not to get an
Dykes.
injury, and
Yeah.
it's worry City, and then they fall right back down that table.
Well, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I think QPR will have a good season. They should be pushing for the playoffs. But there are a lot of clubs like that though that should be pushing on. Like Nottingham Forest lost to Coventry, but they were tipped to have a good season. Before the season started. But yes, some clubs will push on, and others will just stay the same. And I think Nottingham Forest are a club that will just sit in mid-table and not really
Yeah.
push for anything. But
Well, it pushes them on quite a bit because I mean, last season they were massively in a relegation battle, and in fact finished on the same amount of points as we did. So if they had a mid-table, if I offered a Nottingham Forest fan a mid-table finish right now, I'm pretty certain they'd take.
yeah, yeah, possibly, yeah, because Chris Hughton's job last season was to just keep them up, and this season will just be about like consolidating, which is a shame for them because they were just they missed out on the playoffs on the last game 2 seasons ago, when Swansea beat them on goal difference. Um, but yeah, they've regressed so much since then. The transfer business hasn't been great. They've hardly signed anyone that's really improved them, and let Matty Cash go, which was a big loss. Um, and Lewis Grabban was injured a lot last season, and Lyle Taylor, who they brought in to be a backup to Grabban, um, didn't hit form at all. Um, apart from scoring a brace against Wickham, but apart from that, it was yeah, slim pickings. But yes, I mean Borough are a team that I think will push on and be in and around the playoffs. Middlesbrough under Neil Warnock,
I've got them as ninth in my prediction, but towards the end they're going to kind of fall back down a little bit. I think they're going to have a good start and middle, but at the end they're just not going to have enough to keep that trajectory going up, and it will just start going down a little bit and come towards that 9th, 10th position.
similar to last season then, like that. But that's basically what happened for them last season, wasn't it?
I feel they still need that couple of additions to their squad that are going to push them over that line, push them up to that six, push them into the playoffs.
If Ikpiazu can score goals for them, then
Mm.
they'll be pushing for the playoffs. Another club that I think could have an outside shot at being in the top six are Luton. With Adebayo up front and all their new signings, if they all gel as a team, um, they're all good individual players. It's just whether Jones can fit them into a system. Where do you have Luton?
I have Luton in 11th.
Yeah,
So I have them
probably
just
about.
that team that could, if they sign in January again, it's one of those. I think if they sign a good couple of players that are just going to tip their team over the top, I'd put them in the playoffs. But it's still that couple of players away. Defensively, I can still see them conceding myself. I can still see there being teams put two or three past them and them having to score 4 goals to win a game. I wouldn't put that against Adebayo at all. and Onyedinma in midfield. I wouldn't put it against them putting 4 past teams, but
They've
I could see them
they've
conceding
got off
goals.
to a flying start, haven't they? But it
They
surprised
got
me
off to a
because
flying start.
um, last season I think they were a bit too cautious, a bit too defensive, particularly sort of away from home. Um, yeah,
Mm.
they'd sort of go for the 1-0, 0-0 kind of scoreline. Um, but yeah, I think if they can attack more while remaining solid at the back, they'll have a really good season. But anyway, shall we get into game week 2 and the game week 2 fixtures? If we can
Yep.
run down the list and just go through how we think the games might play out. So tomorrow morning. So the deadline, by the way, guys, is 11 o'clock tomorrow morning on Saturday. Peterborough play Derby. I've mentioned that it's a good fixture for Peterborough. I think Clark Harris might score a goal or two. I have Sammy Smodics in my team. I'm hoping for a return from him. Well, yeah. How do you see that one going?
I completely agree with you. I can see it going one way. I could. I feel like you can't, even though they're a massive outsider, you can't put them against out there as no chances. But I can only see it going one way, and I'm completely agreeing with you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't look good for Derby, does it?
It doesn't,
they
but
could.
you do
I
have
think
attacking assets in
the
their team.
best. I think the best they can do is just hold teams and just draw 0-0.
I can see them scoring with Kazim Richards, though.
Yeah, maybe.
I can see him get. He's their only striker at the moment in Gaffr. So I could see him getting into double figures, but that's only
I
because
think
he's the only striker they have.
whether he can stay fit because he's not young either.
Yeah, he's another one that could very easily get injured and then them not score goals for 5-6 games.
He's not going to score goals week in week out, is he? But
No.
it wouldn't surprise me if he scored a couple of goals in the early stages of the season. Yeah, Derby have some decent fixtures to be honest, and yeah, could score a couple of goals. I think the
Derby need to get off to a flyer early to be able to stay up, is what I would say. They need to get off to a very good start to the season, get the points in the bank like Blues did a couple of seasons ago, and have those points there in case the EFL attack them again as well.
There could be points deductions if Mel Morris fails to pay the playing staff. So that's something to consider. It could go badly wrong for them, but anyway, I hope it doesn't. Yeah, I've got a few friends that are Derby fans, and I wouldn't want them to, go into administration or, want them to have a club to support at least.
For me, you any club to go into administration, because
not even Aston Villa.
No.
And it looked
even when they were in
ago,
a terrible position,
a few years ago,
I would never wish that on anyone.
That was yeah. I mean, before they sold the club to the current owner, they were in financial peril, weren't they? But,
they were in desperate financial peril, and a lot of people were laughing at them. And I was just sat there thinking, we've been there, we've been in problems, and I know how it feels as a Blues fan. And it's horrible thinking next week, will I have a club to support? A club that I've supported my whole life, are they going to be there in 2? I just don't really want any other club to go through that. And I mean, Bury went through it and their club did go out of business. Bolton went through it and Sky Sports were counting down to it like it was deadline day.
Yeah.
It's just a horrible feeling.
We want to see all clubs in business, don't we?
Yes.
Foremost. So Barnsley v Coventry, we've spoken about Coventry. What do you think of Barnsley under Shop? They have another new manager from the Austrian league.
Now, last season, I feel they incredibly massively I had them lower mid-table. I thought they're not going to do much, and then they massively overperformed. Totally shocked me, and massive plaudits to them for doing what they did last season in getting in that playoffs. This season, I have them at 16th. I don't think they're going to do it again. I just can't see anything other than a normal Barnsley season coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I have them in mid-table. I think it was a safe prediction just to have them in mid-table, knowing that they could go either way. Um, and I think it's one of those that could go either way. It could turn out to be as good as Ishmael or as bad as it was the season before that when they
Mm.
had to stay up in on the last day of the season.
For them as well, they could very easily lose a couple of players, and I just wouldn't see them scoring goals.
They already have, haven't they? With Mowat, they've lost their manager, of course.
Uh, They lost their manager, and I thought that was horrendous. But if Woodrow goes as well, I just can't see them scoring enough goals.
Well, they have, I think, a few difficult. They have three difficult fixtures coming up. They have Coventry, Luton, and QPR, and then I think after that the fixtures become a bit easier for Barnsley, and I might look at Cooley Woodrow as being a forward that I can own from what would
If
that
he
be
stays there, I can see them scoring goals.
from game week 5 onwards. I think they have a decent run, and yeah, Woodrow is one to watch for me over the next three.
Woodrow's definitely one to watch. In this game, I could see them getting something out of it. I'd probably put it as a 1-1 draw. Would be my prediction between Barnsley and Coventry.
Yeah, I agree. A draw, I wouldn't be shocked at a draw at all. Two good sides. So Birmingham Stoke we've covered. So you think it'll be 2-1 to Birmingham? I think it'll be 2-1 to Stoke.
Either way, there's going to be goals. There's going to be
I
entertainment,
think
and
both teams will score. That's my prediction.
I can't see both teams not scoring.
Yeah,
At home, we should be having faith, and so far this season, but it's going to come at some point in a kind of ish derby game, the bottom of the barrel.
yeah.
It
It's going
kind
to
of counts
be
as one.
it's one of the best, one of the biggest games that we have in the season, along with West Brom. And we
I
tend to
mean,
play quite
I
well.
take that as mass credit that you rate us that highly.
I think it's just a case of like Birmingham is one of our closest clubs. It's a
Mm.
big derby day for us. Even though you've bumped up the prices, you know that. It's a
They
bigger
bumped up
it's
the
a big
prices
away
for us
day.
if it helps.
Yeah, well you've got to pay for your stadium repairs somehow, haven't you?
I mean, he'll probably go in the owner's back pockets instead.
Yeah, I mean that's how your clubs run. My clubs run completely different, but
Yeah,
doesn't
I
really get
wish we could switch
results.
owners.
Yeah. But anyway, Blackpool v Cardiff. So I have two Cardiff defenders, and I picked this fixture out as being a very likely clean sheet for Cardiff. I think 2-0 to Cardiff.
Um, I go very similar. I'd put a 3-0 on Cardiff. I think they've got enough attacking assets that'll put the ball in the net. If they didn't have Mora's iffy fitness wise, they'd probably put even more past them. But this is them relegation battling for Blackpool at best.
Hi to Jaden Patterson in the chat, who has said we love some Gaffer content amongst all the FPL madness, and I made sure that this stream was well in advance of the FPL deadline, so everyone could focus on Gaffer instead of FPL. Going into
Gaffer's better.
Gaffer is Gaffer is mad. It's completely different to FPL. I play both games, but I enjoy both in different ways. I find FPL to be a bit, I don't know how to say it, but a bit bland sometimes. You know,
Towards the end of a season, I feel FPL gets ugh. I feel Gaffer's going to be at it all season and on fire all season.
and Gaffer rewards you for being active and planning a lot more. I finished 44th in Gaffer last season, and 500k, which is one of my worst finishes in FPL. Um, I was far more active in Gaffr because I found that it was more rewarding, planning for boosts, um, making a captain pick and a vice captain pick every game week. Um,
Planning ahead with Gaffer, it just feels completely different.
yeah,
It's just on another level to FPL for me.
you need you
I get
need
bored.
you need almost spreadsheets or spreadsheets in your head sometimes with the amount of planning.
Yeah,
Um, and
I
I
suppose it
find,
also helps both our teams are in the championship.
yeah, of course, like I keep up with the scores. I either watch Soccer Saturday when Stoke are away. I did that most game weeks last season. And they have the goals and main highlights on Soccer Special. So I'll keep
Mm,
up with that. But this season now, Stoke are at home. I'll go to the games, and I won't get that chance to watch all the goals go in.
mm.
But there's different highlight
Match of the day.
streams. There's EFL on Quest, which
Mm,
is on the same day. So when I get back in, I'll tune into that, or I'll watch the goals on the Sky Sports app on the same day, or
yeah,
the day after, just to keep up with all the highlights and all the goals from a particular game week. Um, yeah, I'm far more engaged in Gaffer now, and yeah, that's why I've decided to do a Gaffer channel and yeah, have a dedicated Twitter account to Gaffer rather than FPL.
yeah.
So
Completely
the
agree there.
next game we've covered already, Huddersfield v Fulham. It's really unfortunate, COVID outbreak at Huddersfield. Um, what's your score prediction for this? How badly do you think Huddersfield could get beaten in?
Um, Thing positive for Huddersfield, and it's just such a struggle in this game. You've got so many injured COVID outbreaks, and even if some of them are coming back, it's going to be a struggle. Um, it's probably going to be a 3 or 4 goal margin. Uh, I can't see anything other than probably 4-1. I'll give them a goal.
I can't even see them scoring with the amount of attacking players that are out for them. All the creativity is gone. They won't have. They might not have Josh Koroma, Lewis O'Brien's out. Just going back to the injury list. I've went through 13 players out injured. It's crazy. And all of them are players that are in and around the starting team as well. Mbenza, Bakuna, um, Sinani, the new signing. All of these players will be absent. Toffolo is quite an attacking player. Can't see them scoring. Can't see them scoring at all. I think 3-0, and I think that's being conservative. 3-0 to
Yeah,
Fulham. So Hull and QPR.
we do have a question from Jaden in the comments. Would you drop one of Townsend, Furlong, EDM, Unji, and or Tete for Willock this game week?
I would consider dropping one of the West Brom defenders for Willock.
We both have Willock in our team, so I suppose that answers the question for you really. I think we both rate Willock, and we both think he's probably going to have a good week here. So I definitely have him in your team with one of the West Brom players coming out too.
He just needs a goal, and he's outscored one of the West Brom defenders straight away. He'll get bonus on top of that. Yeah, he'll get sort of he scores. You're talking double figures, 11 points. So yeah, well worth having in your team for this game week away at Hull. So I'd probably drop Furlong out of those defenders for Willock. But yeah, make your own decision on it. Don't take our word for it. It depends. The West Brom defenders probably have a lower points potential, but a higher ceiling. Is that right?
Yes.
Higher. They have a higher floor, points floor. So they're gonna get 4 points. Willock could easily get 2 points if he blanks, but Willock has the highest ceiling, the biggest upside. So yeah, keep your questions coming in, and we'll try to discuss them and help you figure out what you're gonna do ahead of the deadline. Hull QPR, I think, yeah. So we've spoken about, we own Willock. We're quite optimistic about him going into this
I own
season.
3 QPR players.
You own 3 QPR players, and yeah, I can see why. So
And in fact, Dykes is my captain this game week.
wow, that is bold. That is bold.
I think they're going to win this game by 3 goals to 0.
I don't know what. I think Hull will be one of those teams where I think they could concede like 3 or 4. But then I think they've got goals in the team with Lewis Potter and Malik Wilkes, so they might have enough to win a few games. So
And
let's
I
find
think
out.
they'll probably keep themselves up just about. Well, I've got them in. I think they're just going to keep themselves up, but I can see them conceding way too many goals. And in this game with Willock and Dykes, like I can see goals.
It's interesting because I see Hull as like a lesser version of QPR, like a lower, sorry, a second, um, a lower half of the table
A
version.
lower tier.
Yeah, a lower version. Trying to
Yeah,
get my words out.
I understand what you mean.
Se-
And not as good QPR.
not as good. Yeah, basically, a not as good QPR. Basically, they'll score goals, but they'll concede goals as well. Um, so I think that one will be 3-2 to QPR.
See, the only game I would back Hull on this season would be against Blues because they always batter us at their place.
Yeah. QPR, you don't want to play them, do you? You don't want to play
No,
with that team.
you don't want to play QPR with that team. They're just something else.
Yeah, we lost to them 2-0 at the end of last season, and that was, that was.
And they've improved since
They've
then.
improved since then, but that was, what's the word? That was, yeah. They could have easily won that by 3 or 4 goals. And, we were lucky to go away with just the 2-0 loss in that game. But if you attack them,
you can
you
score
can
against
score
them.
against them, but yeah, they'll score at the other end with the attacking players that they've got. Middlesbrough v Bristol City. We'll quickly go through the rest of the fixtures.
I think these two are quite even. Myself,
1-0 to Borough.
I'd say 1-0 to Bristol.
I think Borough are a better team. Bristol City were very poor.
I think
back end
Borough
of
are a
last
better
season.
team all round. Borough are a better team all round, but I think Bristol have enough in them to withhold that, and I think they could get that 1 goal and kind of get that victory they don't deserve.
Result, I think another shock.
A shock 1-0.
A shock 1-0 to Bristol City. I mean, it's not unfeasible, is it? I can see that happening. It's unlikely, but
they're the kind of team that do that.
It's the kind of punts that you'd have in your ACCA, isn't it? Just to boot.
It probably will be in mine then.
Boost the odds up a bit. Another shock result that I've predicted. I think Blackburn will beat Millwall at the Den. What's your prediction? I think 2-1 to Blackburn.
I think it's going to be a tight game. First game week, I thought Millwall were going to do better than they did. Okay.
Tea's ready, Liam.
They want me to eat food. The Millwall game, it's just I can see Millwall winning it, but I can also see Blackburn winning it. So I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw.
Forest v Bournemouth. So we've seen Forest already lost to Coventry 2-1. They're at home in this game, which might have an influence. I'm going to say 1-1. 1-1. I think Forest can get a point against Bournemouth. I wasn't too sure on Scott Parker's Bournemouth team.
If you asked me before the start of the season, I would have said Bournemouth win easily. But now I kind of agree with you. I feel Forest could get points here. I could see another shock result here. I think that Forest could win this 1-0.
Reading v Preston. I see Reading winning this 2-0.
I see this being the most boring match you have ever seen in your life and it being a 0-0.
I think
Q5 will draw.
I think Reading have too much in attack for them. Although I've said it's a 50-50 whether Reading get a clean sheet here. Preston might score. We managed to score 3 past Reading, and we aren't the most.
I mean, you're awaiting a 5-5 draw now. I've just called it the most boring match in history. It's just going to happen.
Always happens. So
don't bet on it.
West Brom against Luton, 2-1 to West Brom.
3-1 to West Brom.
Okay, well, we're agreed on that being a West Brom win. The final result to predict is Swansea v Sheffield United. This is an interesting one. Both teams lost in game week 1. Come into the season with high expectations. Both don't look great in terms of playing squad and who's available. They both need to make signings, but I think the current Sheffield United team will win 1-0 away at Swansea.
Now, if you were asking me before the start of the season, I would have predicted Sheffield. As a Blues fan who went to the game, as a Blues fan who went to the Sheffield United game, I saw a team that weren't as good as I thought they were. We've come away with 3 points from there. They're going away to Swansea. They're going away to Wales. I see a Swansea victory here. A 2-1 victory to Swansea for me.
Interesting. I mean, it's not beyond the realms of expectation for Swansea to win at home in front of their fans that haven't been able to watch them in 18 months. Just to mention that, home advantage might have a
home advantage could be huge.
This game week, as it was last game week with
except for Blues.
But Sheffield United lost at home last game week, but Swansea in front of their new fans could pull off an upset against the.
We do have another question.
Yeah, if you want to answer that, go ahead.
Jaden has said, is captaincy as simple as a Fulham player, or are we ignoring certain options? As I've stated, I have Dykes as my captain. So I'm not going that obvious route. In fact, I don't have any Fulham players in my team in case that decides to go wrong. It's more than possible for it to go wrong. I say there are other options out there that could be gone with. Looking at teams, I mean, you've got Peterborough could be a good captaincy team against Derby. You've got multiple teams you could have as captain. I don't think it's just a one-way battle. But Fulham aren't a bad one.
There's also a chance that game might go down with all of the all the players that have tested positive for Huddersfield. If they're unable to field a starting team, that game could be postponed. So I probably wouldn't have captain and vice captain on Fulham players. If you've got a Peterborough player, maybe vice captain one of those. But like you say, you're captain Dykes. You're captain in Dykes. So there are other options this game week. Plenty.
I've also gone for some strange results, so. Sorry.
Plenty of.
Had to have 3 Blues players in his team.
Yeah, I mean, loads of choices to be made every game week in Gaffr. That's why we love it.
As you said, Djukovic plays very well against you.
Birmingham Birmingham are not a team that I'd usually consider, but might be this season under Bowyer. So yeah, every club, has
Every club has
yeah,
the chance.
every club has their form parts of the season. Like they dip in and out of form, don't they, in the Championship a lot more than maybe in the Premier League, where you can sort of expect certain clubs to do well throughout the season and others not to. You can in the Championship, but it's usually it's a lot more even, and yeah, that's part of it. It's another reason. There's so many reasons why I love Gaffr in the Championship, but that's another one. Yeah, many more of those. But yeah, thanks for joining me on this pre-game week 2 Q&A, Liam.
No
And
problem.
there's only one more thing to say, and that's come on, you mighty Potters.
Keep right on.
Cheers.